Mic check, 1 2 1 2. We're back. I don't even know if I want to call this season 2 Snap, but Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Wait, I'm gonna let you get that together.
Happy New Year to you, young lady. Welcome back.
Yes, no, it's been an interesting new year. A lot of things have happened over the past 2 weeks and a half that we've been gone. Welcome to Black and Nuance. Let's start there. Hello, my name is Georgette.
And I'm Robo Snap. Yeah.
And you are listening to Black and Nuance Podcast, dispelling the ideas that all Black people are monoliths, because we're not. We bring our varying perspectives to pop culture, relationships, and things we go through that we can't always name. Welcome to Black and Nuance, powered by Excitement Radio. Boom, bam, bam. Okay, Snap, what did you do for the holidays and New Year?
I did a lot of eating. That's what I did. I stopped at a few friends' house, over the holidays, had a couple days off. So I kind of just grinded out. Shopping, I don't really go through that whole, that Black Friday thing, that whole month of just making everything about Christmas. And I'll get online, shop for a couple things. I said I was going to go through those books. Passed out a couple of those. Yep, passed out a couple of those Michelle Obama joints.
Okay.
So, yeah, but that was it. For the most part, I'm calm, cool, and collected. I don't really do too much for the holidays.
What did you do for nothing for New Year's? No
Nothing.
Parties, no nothing? Did you say you took a trip? Y'all went to Keys?
Okay, yeah. Well,
Keys.
yeah.
Okay.
See, but I don't consider that really. You know what? I'm sorry. So me and my lady went to the Keys.
That is doing something, Snap.
Right?
Just be clear.
We went to the Keys,
Okay.
hung out for
What are the
2
Keys
days.
for those that are not from South Florida or live here?
The Keys is the furthest south you can go on US 1. So I think the Keys
the bottom of
ends-
Florida.
There we go. And then it becomes
Florida.
like
It's called Florida Keys, or it's called the Keys?
yeah, the Florida Keys.
Okay, so they're islands. What are they? It's like South Beach and another
It's
beach?
it's definitely not like South Beach. It smells like real fishy out there. Like
Because you are like damn near at the peak of the
but
the
it's
ocean.
more of like a fishing thing. I think it's like if you're into like fishing and you want to get away and just have some relaxing time. If you want to do like wakeboarding, they have like all kinds of lakes and stuff out there.
Oh,
You
so
can
there's
just go out there.
activities for people to do when you go out
plenty
there.
of stuff. Yeah.
Do you pay to
Depending on which resort you stay on, a lot of this stuff was included. So the wakeboarding, the kayaking, all that was included.
Oh,
in our
y'all
stay.
booked some time at a resort.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
come on, Snap.
but-
man. You leaving out all the
But I
details.
didn't do any of the fun stuff. Like I didn't do any of the kayaking and nothing like that.
I'm just saying, you left out the details that y'all got at a resort. I thought you just drove down there, kicked it, and came back.
Yeah, we spent a little time out there and came back. But you know what? Because the Keys are so close and we do local things so often, I tend to forget that this is really something. It's like
Right.
But
People
it's
come
not
down
like-
to Florida to escape.
yeah, but
New
see,
York
being
winter
from
weather.
Florida, like it's funny. People laugh at us who come to vacation down here because they like, you're from Florida. Why are you vacationing in Florida? So I don't even see it as like a getaway. Now,
Right.
if I went like over the Georgia, Florida line, then I'm thinking, all right, maybe I did something.
Yeah, I mean, but technically you're not from Florida, so you doing things in Florida is still.
But I think I'm Floridian now
But
because
you've been
I've been
here long
here
enough.
for so long.
Yeah, I don't want to get to that
So-
point. No shade. I don't want to get to that point where call me a New Yorker, even though I spent 7.5 years there. I don't want to get to the point where you calling me a Floridian. It's not in me, Snap. I can't
I'm in
lie.
it. I'm all the way in.
Yeah, you're
I'm-
like 20 plus years
Yeah.
in. Yeah. That's half your life, Snap. Holidays. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm gonna be very honest. It was I don't want to use the word depressing. It was I just wasn't. I was very emotional. I stopped celebrating Christmas, but every time I celebrated Christmas, it was always, or anytime I did Christmas, it was always the option if I wanted to go home, Snap, I could go home. I'm in New York, hop on the Greyhound, boom. But here, like new temporary life, I couldn't go anywhere. Right?
Okay.
Like you have to pick a holiday.
There you go. Right.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, or New
Okay.
Year's Day. And I chose Thanksgiving because my mom cooks.
There you go.
And there's a bunch of food I could take back with me, but I had to come into work every single day. So while everyone was enjoying their 2 weeks off, I was just like, there's no 2 weeks off for me. I'm still coming in every day, giving you your traffic, giving you your local news, giving you whatever. I was in
Absolutely.
it every day. New Year's Day was underwhelming. I went to this party, and this fraternity had thrown a party, and I went to one of their parties before that was in conjunction with a sorority. And that party was hype. And so I'm thinking like the New Year's Eve party was going to be lit. No, not at all. I dressed up. I was like, I'm going to go out. And I literally came home, took a 3-hour nap and went to work at 5 a.m. So again, like that was the other thing, right? Like everyone gets to stay out late at night. And I literally I'm counting my clock.
Right.
Like
Right.
that event was like about 45 minutes away from where I live. And so I was just like, okay, Georgette, leave at this time. You'll get there at this time. Leave once the ball drops. Or, well, not down here, but once it hits midnight. So New York, right? Like once the ball drops. And then I left and I got in like 1:30. I had a lot of anxiety around New Year's Day because, people are out here shooting guns as fireworks. And, I didn't realize I had anxiety. And we'll get into that and all of the things, Snap, until like I literally like, I got really like my eyes started watering. Like I was feeling scared. It was just, all this stuff just hit me all at once. I was like, Georgette, calm down. It's okay. Nothing's going to happen. You'll be safe. And I was in work on New Year's Day at 5 a.m.
So, because I was going to ask you, were you alone New Year's Eve? Like, did you have like a little boo date or anything like that?
I had nobody. I went to the party by myself. I left the party by myself, even though there were some drunk frat brothers, like they were like, oh my gosh, like I gotta lock you down before. I was like, before what?
Right,
like, I don't know you. My man.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, wait.
One of them was really touchy-feely, and I just don't like touchy-feely men that I don't know, that are strangers to me. Like, I could dance with you, that's cool, but I'm not backing it up on you. So yeah, that was it for me. Snap. Again, I was more emotional because I'm a fish out of water down here in South Florida.
But I think it was more because you knew that the next day or two you was gonna have to work.
I had to work, but
that's what it was.
But it was. So to back it up, I spent Christmas with Tracy and her husband.
That's my girl.
Yep,
that's my girl.
And then I bounced to another spot, a West Indian woman. She invited me to her friend who's Trini, and so she was like, "Come through." So I went there after, and so I was literally in the car in tears. Like I was listening to Calypso music and I was just trying to like getting in the spirit, and I just started thinking about everyone, and I don't have people down here, right? Like
there you go.
I always went somewhere in New York. I always went to my old boss's place. He always invited, him and his wife, had people come over with their kids and people. It was just good vibes, and here it was just like kaput. Like I had to find a place to go, Snap.
See.
And so, somebody was like, Georgette, I wish I knew that. And I'm just like, I'm not going to broadcast that I'm lonely for Christmas. And you know what I mean? Like, it was just different for me, Snap. So, the holidays were interesting. I just know, and I forgot who I told this to. I was like, South Florida is just not where I want to spend New Year's. So I'm going to have to figure something out. Creator willing, if I'm here next year.
Well, even local artist Pitbull, he does like a New Year's Eve thing, and it's not a ball drop like the New York City ball drop, but they do create something here in South Florida that it actually drops.
Yeah, the little big orange thing that goes up. Yeah, I was like, I'm not going downtown. I just was like, no shade. South Florida just wasn't where I would want to be for New Year's.
It's beautiful out here. The weather, you want to be in cold, wet New York weather.
No, but I just know the seasons are happening. I know something else is like the city felt electric when I was there in New York. I did the ball drop one year. I'm glad I don't ever have to do that again. I did it once. I didn't stay out there as long as most people do.
I think the best part about that for me in New York City was always going to see the tree lighting at Rockefeller Center and skating.
Options.
Like, there you go. Right. Okay, there you go.
You had options. Like, I did the whole ice skating thing last year. Like, I was just like, oh, I'm walking out with a tank top and a blazer with some heels. Like, it was just, it was different. It was different. But speaking about recaps, Snap, a lot of stuff happened just in the past few days of the new year. Right. I can't even get into what happened in the end of the year. First things first, the whole Oscars host fiasco, Kevin Hart apologizing. He ended up on Ellen's show where she basically made it clear like she was batting for him. She called the Academy and was like, Kevin's my friend. He really, means, I think he would be a great host. I think he should do it, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, they wanted Kevin, right? Like, I think we were meant to believe that after Kevin dropped out on his own, after saying he didn't want to apologize, I guess they felt like, the Academy felt like, they actually never told him not to. They were just requesting something from him that he didn't feel like he had to do.
Apologetic, right.
But they even said something different. Like, it wasn't necessarily an apology, but like they said like he had already apologized. It was just some different stuff. So nonetheless, he goes on. He was considering reprising his role as Oscars host. And then I remember having conversations about it. I was just like, I don't think he should do it now, right? Like after the Ellen thing, like I thought it got escalated even more. So now, recently, he has a show on Sirius XM called Straight to the Heart. He apologized again. He apologizes again, Snap. And then I think Chris Rock. So Chris Rock was at And then I want to get your thoughts on all of this. Because I think now the host position might be a little tainted, but I want to get your thoughts. I just want to find out where Chris Rock was when he said, like, he doesn't want to host it and the reason why he doesn't want to host it. So on Variety.com, Chris Rock was presenting an award at the New York Film Critics Circle Awards dinner in Manhattan. This was Monday night of this week. And he basically was like, you know, if it was 5 years ago, I could say something really offensive and funny right now, but I can't do that anymore. So basically, like, a lot of comedians feel like they're censored. You know, anytime somebody says something, people are getting offended. And listen, people have every right to be offended. But, you know, he threw it to Steve Martin. He was like, Steve Martin should host the Oscars. You're the best. But essentially, I think Chris Rock just doesn't want to host it because it's just like, nah. He hosted it in 2005 and 2016.
Absolutely.
But I think, again, just a lot of censorship and sensitivities around different communities and groups. So your thoughts about Kevin Hart apologizing again and Chris Rock, and then just if you think the Oscars host position is tainted.
I love when comics tell you at the very beginning of their show, listen, if you have any kind of sensitive issues or sensitivity thoughts or whatever, leave, because I'm gonna talk about who
Comics
I want.
do that?
Everybody, some comics do.
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't come here not to laugh. Don't come here to be serious.
Right.
Come here. Don't bring your opinions. And I'm making jokes, and a lot of these jokes are geared into what we know.
Yep.
You know. But again, so you go back to a lot of these comedians, and my job is to be funny. Now, there's a thin line with a comedian. Sometimes you're going to say stuff that make the whole crowd laugh. Sometimes you're going to say stuff that make half the crowd laugh. Sometimes your joke will flop, and nobody laughs. And so I remember a couple years ago, Tracy Morgan got on stage and made some comments about if his kid ever came home gay, blah, blah, blah. And I remember the LGBT community going after him. And it got ugly for a little bit. Of course, he apologized, but, you know, these are comedians,
right?
You know, and it's like, if I can't joke, you know,
black comedians even make fun of their own people, like our own.
And so, you know, our own stereotypes put on us and things like, even when we know they're not true, you know, we kind of reinforce them if it's going to hit the punchline.
Right,
so
right.
I get it, right? And I don't think anybody is saying, no comedian out there. Well, I know Kevin Hart. I don't think his intentions was to say, yo, I want to cause harm to you. My joke is so bad that it's going to inflict other people to want to put harm or put you in harm's way. I don't think that's what it was. I just think, again, coming up. And so my girl has a very best friend who's in the LGBT community.
It's a
right?
guy. It's a girl.
Girl.
Okay.
All right. To the point where, you know, this is their daughter is our godchild. Okay. And so we were just with her over the weekend and everything like that. And I could remember, like, when I first met him, and we would just talk about normal things going on, blah, blah, blah. And I just remember one day being over there, and I had to catch myself because it was like something. And I was like, nah, that's gay. That's what, here you go. They was like, yo, Rob, why you didn't come to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know me, I was just being gay, you know, kind of like, and so even coming from New York, a lot of the stuff we would say to each other is, man, stop being a faggot. Like, you know, blah, blah. It'd be like some dumb shit. Like, you know, come on, play one more game. It's like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm tired of the month. Stop being gay. You know, like, and that's how we would throw it out there. And like, again, this is years ago, 15, 20 years ago. So I could imagine the changing of the times now and people, you know, feeling a lot more sensitive to the way we talk. But again, these were Kevin Hart jokes 8 years ago, 6 years ago, you know, and.
But I guess in the comparison, what if we compared it to, what if you said, white people said, stop acting black, right? Like in because when you say stop acting gay, stop acting like a faggot, there is, there's a certain type of like weakness or certain type of negative stereotype.
Tone that we was using it, right?
Right, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
It wasn't uplifting.
I get it
right.
now.
So
right.
if someone said like stop acting black, like if it was in regards to, you know, a stereotype that I get it. I'm just saying, like,
I know, and then that's the whole flip side of it. Stop acting white. It's like, all right, I get it, you know, and you are gonna offend some people. Like, okay, and see, you know, oh, I don't want to get scolded for this, but like, I'm not even offended when I hear white people use the word nigga no more. It's like, it's almost to the point to where, because we've used it so much, it's like, and you know, I told you I am a part of the gamer community.
Okay.
So I interact with
and they
black
are reckless.
and white and
my gosh.
Reckless to where
threats like raping women and doing this. Like I remember there was this big case, not to cut you off, my bad. There was this woman, I forgot, this was a few years ago, but when she was I think talking about like the violence in some of the games, like they were threatening to kill her, threatening to rape her. And it was just like, what? Like, are you kidding me?
But this is talk from people you'll never meet in your life.
Correct. And
you know what I mean? They can hide behind this curtain.
They feel empowered behind their computer.
And so, so again, but it's like, how often do we use it on each other? I didn't realize how much I use the word nigga. I'll throw nigga out there quick. And like,
I actually laugh when I hear it. Like, everyone uses it. Like,
and so it's like, and then I got a group of white friends.
Right.
And what am I to say to them? Yo, you can't use the word nigga and I'm calling you a nigga? And it's like damn. Like we be talking on some shit and he'll say something. Like I got a white friend who'll say some dumb shit. And I'll be like, nigga, please. And I'm like, wait a minute, did I just call this man a nigga? Like that type of craziness.
I get it, but it's just, it doesn't seem like it's this
right. And so, but again, I understand the offenses that people feel when you say things, but I think when it comes to somebody who's performing, somebody who's trying to get a laugh, that's their whole purpose of sending this tweet. And I think that was a personal tweet. He was going back and forth with another comedian, if I'm correct, or one of his friends. And I think he was saying that too. But so I get it, because he is who he is. He's Kevin Hart. He's got over umpteen million followers. You're going to get that. As to the average person like myself who would make that dumbass comment and nobody is following me to, really tear me down or anything like that. But again, had I did have that audience, I'm pretty sure somebody would say to me, yo, Rob, that ain't right, and blah, blah, blah. So you're right. So I get it. But now when you take that and you say, all right, Kevin, you have to do this, it feels like you forcing the hand. You making me apologize. All right, well, he did this now. All right, but you still can host it. He's like, nah, I don't want to host it because of the backlash I think that you guys are going to get. And then the other part,
he's going to be a distraction. He is now, yeah.
And then so the other part of that is now you know how we do when we feel a certain way. Oh, you don't diss Kevin, so now we going not boycott, but we gonna turn and we ain't really gonna tune in to the Oscars and for the most part, the Oscars wasn't a real black thing anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
hate to say that, but
Oscars are films, but a lot of the films it's like 5 to 7 films.
And for the longest time, we've been getting robbed out of Oscar nominations and just years.
They can't take Moonlight away from us, no matter what the flub. They can't take Moonlight away from us. I
think that turned us away for a while. Yeah. So when you talk about, these are just new opportunities. I remember somebody reporting and throwing it out to Tiffany Haddish, like, well, Kevin Hart ain't going to do it. Well, why don't you host it? She like, maybe one day, but I'm not ready to do something like that.
I think they were joking.
Right. But I think it's because, again, if any of like Chris Rock, I think there'll be backlash from the black community. Like, well, how could you blah, blah, blah.
Well, Chris Rock did it already.
I know, but now that whole Kevin Hart thing happened.
You know what's so crazy? He only just hosted it 2 years ago. People could have unearthed things from him. You know that?
But again,
right? I wonder
where you at as a comedian, who your connects are. Yeah. See, and a long time, right? We think. A lot of us was thinking Chris Rock didn't connect to the black community like that.
Who thought that? People were thinking that?
Yeah, and only because, I don't know, I always loved Chris Rock.
Yeah.
But when it came to Chris Rock jokes, it was always another urban comedian who connected more. Okay, damn, I don't want to think of the times, but if you think of Chris Rock definitely connected to people. Mm-hmm. But then you think of like your Cat Williams. He connected just even more to the younger black audience. He was,
he was a little bit different, yeah.
And so I think Chris Rock had a maturity about his comedy.
Yeah.
It was, I like Chris Rock more as an actor than him being on stage for some reason or another. And so I think that's what it is. Maybe that's my bias or whatever.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, I'm thinking like a Dave Chappelle, right? Everyone knows Dave Chappelle is reckless, but he talks about every fucking community.
Right, there we go.
His wife is Asian.
Right.
But for some reason, I think, I'm not going to lie to you, and then we'll go to the next topic. I think a Chappelle or a Chris Rock would get a pass. I don't know why Kevin Hart didn't get one. I don't know why. I think
because he's so big right now, everybody goes after the big fish.
Yeah.
And I think that's
and
what it
maybe
is.
his seems so current, even though it was like 8 years ago or something like
but
that.
But then it almost made me feel like, just reading through it, almost made me feel like, well, why did he have to apologize in the first place? This is not something that he blatantly outright and said, yo, listen, I'm bashing your community. No.
Right. He was talking about his own child, and he goes into the whole apology on his thing about how, like, it actually started off as a joke about my child, and my child comes home.
Right.
But that's how it started. It wasn't on some, like, fuck gay people, fuck the LGBTQ
Right.
community.
Right.
But, yeah, no, it's true. He feels like it's an attack, and then somebody was like, this was around the whole conversation with Ellen. Some people feel like that LGBTQ community, some people in that community feel like Ellen, you know, why is she trying to save face and all this other stuff, like, and they looked for his apology. They claim there wasn't an original apology around that time when he said it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying the only apology is happening now. But yeah.
But I think I remember him saying he already addressed it and he didn't need to apologize.
But they're saying like there was no proof of that. I mean, like people were like digging.
Well,
it's more. Like, I feel like we should need to call this this episode "Surviving the Internet" because getting into surviving R. Kelly docuseries.
Phew, the internet has no chill when it comes to
R.
Kelly.
Oh my gosh!
I done seen
R. Kelly,
about
Drake, 2010 video. I mean, like so much shit was happening. So I want to streamline this. Did you watch any or all of it?
I watched a lot of the Surviving R. Kelly, but
there were 6. So there's 3 nights, 2 hours apiece. Did you watch any of that?
I did,
Which
but I can't say I watched
all of it.
Entire.
I watched the first part. Which part did you watch?
Definitely the first and second part.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't
because I watched at least
the first
3 episodes, at least 3
okay,
different.
so that's the first and then the half of the second part. Okay.
There we go.
I watched the first part and I could not. I said I can't give R. Kelly any more of my energy and time. Okay, so let me just throw out some things that are happening and then just wanting to actually get more personal with it because you have how many daughters do you have?
2.
Okay. So R. Kelly docuseries, if you have been living under a rock, it came out on Lifetime last week. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. Executive produced by Dream Hampton, who I think is so dope. She's a frequent collaborator with Jay-Z. She actually wrote or co-wrote Decoded, Jay-Z's book. But she's a filmmaker and she's really into social activism, but she's not with the shits. And she went in about being at war. She did an interview with Shadow and Act. And I just want to kind of read some of her quotes in Shadow and Act. But she was basically saying she was at war with R. Kelly. And if you watched any of it, the way it was broken down, 6 hours, but it was each part was broken down into 2 hours. Each night was broken down into 2 hours. And so some of the things that she said when I said I'm at war with R. Kelly, this is what I meant. I don't ever want to underestimate him. This is a man who has built systems around his abuse, which is something that you'll see in the docuseries. What she's referencing is there was an alleged threat, an unnamed Chicago area man threatened to shoot up a New York City screening when they were trying
they was going to first,
right, before it came out on Lifetime.
Right.
This was back in, they were trying to do this in December before it came out. And so.
And the threat was successful, I remember, because they didn't show it that night.
They didn't. They just didn't want to take any chances, right? I mean, you don't want to put anyone's life at.
Absolutely.
Whether it could have been a lie or not, they think it's allegedly from his camp, but you have to say alleged. You don't know.
Right.
I'm sure.
Right.
People that were on there, Andrea Kelly, which is his ex-wife, Asante McGee, Jerhonda Pace, Kitty Jones, Lisa Van Allen, Lizette Martinez. A lot of these people share their stories of surviving abuse. And then there's other commentary, right? Like Torre, who's a known journalist, Me Too founder Tarana Burke, John Legend popped up on there, and R. Kelly's brothers. I must admit, the older brother that's in jail was the only one I was like, who are you? Like the screw face, because in the very beginning, in the first part, Snap, he was like, he basically was justifying R. Kelly allegedly liking younger women as a preference. Light-skinned women is a preference. Dark-skinned women is a preference. Big-boned women is a preference. Being older than 18 and fucking a 13-year-old, that's not, that in my mind, I can't justify that as a preference. So, anywho, still going along. Dame Dash had made comments saying that was partially the demise of Rockefeller Records. Remember when Best of Both Worlds came out? That album was fire.
Yes, it was.
But guess what dropped around the same time? The allegations of R. Kelly peeing on a 13-year-old
and
girl.
I remember that whole thing.
I could tell you where I was when he came out. It was I mean, like, jaw drop, like you couldn't believe.
I could remember agreeing with Jay-Z at the time.
What did he say at the time? I don't remember.
And so what happened was, okay, I can remember when they first, remember when that R. Kelly tape came out, and then way back in the days. So, but
Which
then
one?
the first tapes,
Not the
original,
one with the 13-year-old.
the original, the Colorado room when we saw the wood in the basement and all the original
the stuff that
stuff.
she had in the docuseries. I didn't know about that stuff prior to.
Okay, so that was the first part. What the Jay-Z thing was, that was the whole second part of them trying to bring it upon him. But then again, when it did not go through, when he was not found guilty of anything, it was like that made me think, all right, these are probably just like, okay, here we go. I'll go back, and I'm not going to throw it off, but the original Michael Jackson case, Michael Jackson never touched that boy, but because he thought it was the right thing to do to settle out of court, and it made him such an animal after that, knowing that he was innocent. And so my whole thing was knowing that information. I'm like, wait a minute, if R. Kelly is innocent, then we know R. Kelly is a freak. We know he liked young girls, but obviously they're not using the term he raped me or anything like that. So I didn't think he did anything wrong. And so because I didn't think he did anything wrong, everybody else acquitted him. So I'm thinking like Jay-Z, the show must go on. I'm like, when is he coming to the town? When is the New York City concert? Type thing. So
Right. Well, here's the quote that she said during that time, because she's cool with him, right? So real quick, backing up to the interview that she did with Shadow and Act, she said she asked Mary J. Blige, Little Kim, Erykah Badu, Dave Chappelle, Questlove. She said, I mean, most people just don't want to touch it. I remember Questlove saying, I would do anything for you, but I can't do this. It's not because they support him. It's because it's so messy and muddy. It's that, and she makes it very clear. She says, it's that turning away that has allowed this to go on. Lastly, real quick about the Jay-Z comment, she said, when R. Kelly was found not guilty of 14 child pornography charges in 2008.
14
14
different child pornography cases.
Yep, she says, I remember Jay-Z talking about being contractually obligated to finish that
I
tour
hear that all the time.
with Kelly, and R. Kelly melted down, ran off stage in the middle of a song saying someone had a gun in the audience.
I remember that incident.
I don't remember that.
I remember
and she
that.
said, and so when we get this phone call about someone having a gun in the audience of the surviving R. Kelly screening, she says, I'm with Andrea Kelly, like, with the ex-wife. So they took that seriously, right? They took those threats seriously. But I vaguely remember, I don't remember any of that stuff at the concert. Chance the Rapper, although he wasn't on the documentary, they did clips of an interview that he did saying that he regretted doing a song with R. Kelly. Mm-hmm. He didn't think about it. Master P, this recently came out. Master P blames part of it on poor parenting, right? Some of the things that I want to say is he says, this was on hotnewhiphop.com. He says, though he opts to take a relatively neutral stance, he makes it clear that some fault must fall on the parents. Quote, nobody gonna play with my kids, straight up. You shouldn't even be on TV if you're a parent. You shouldn't be on TV unless you're on CNN from a jail cell. So I don't know if R. Kelly did it or not. That ain't my business. I ain't judging, but I'm just saying that parents shouldn't have let it go that far.
Okay, so
tell me your thoughts.
That's where I'm at. And I hate to admit I'm with Master P on that, right?
Okay.
But my very first daughter was born in 1991.
Okay.
All right. One of the running jokes when my daughter was an infant was train her not to be a hoe. All right. Mm-hmm. And this is me and my friends, right? Mm-hmm. Train your daughter not to be no hoe, and don't let her go to an R. Kelly concert. And the reason why we joked about that was because this was right around the time where those videos came out. And we could have sworn R. Kelly was going to get locked up. I mean, he was appearing with these suits, these little sad faces and shit. And all of this just disappeared one day. It was like, nah, he's innocent of all of this. And then it went away. And then new stuff came back. And it was like, this is like the third time around where I'm hearing something about like he had sex slaves or some things like that.
Oh, yeah, no, I've been hearing about that.
It's like, and so if we haven't heard that new stuff, would the old stuff be brought back up?
I think so.
And so
I think people were digging for a long time, but they just had to find credibility and resources to really put this together.
And so, and again, so over the last couple of days, just talking with friends, it's like, yes, I do believe that the parents play a role in this, because if I'm correct, some people was like, go ahead. I think one family had to come back and get their daughter, but for the most part,
they were so caught up. It was R. Kelly.
Yeah. And you want
and
that
they
success.
They ignored the stuff that they heard in the past.
And I know the industry. And I know the industry just watching docuseries way before this, that there was a lot of stuff going on with artists and groupies. And some of the groupies had to go through a couple dudes to actually get to the artist.
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of. So it's like, I was so stuck with this because I'm thinking, all right, he never slept with a 12-year-old, but he was stalking Aaliyah since she was 12, and Sparkle's niece too. Now, he started messing with them around 15 years old or so, but I don't even want to address that because that upsets me. It gets under my skin because, again, but at 15, I understand success.
He was messing with younger women than that, though.
Right.
You know that.
And I understand that at 15, but you got to have some kind of guide. Something in your instinct as a woman says to yourself, something's not right. And for you to ignore that because you're looking for that limelight, that you want that success, you want to be a star, you're willing to overlook this. And I say this about some of those actresses, and I hate to do it. I hate to talk about stuff like that, but it's like you were willing to let this man grope you and touch you. You're and do that. About, Harvey Weinstein, okay. Or just any other man, and it's not just Harvey, just like it's not just R. Kelly. There are many guys in this industry that like young women. I don't know for a fact. But if you listen to even the stories of the Jackson 5, and remember Mike told stories about him being in bed while Tito and Marlon and all them other ones had girls in the room and they was having sex while he had to hide under the covers and act like he was sleeping. These weren't grown women. This is teenage girls. And when you think about the music industry, the concert goers, Elvis, a lot of them are teenage girls. A lot of music is based on teenage girls, and not an excuse to prey upon these young women. But it's been going on for years, and I'm glad the movement is opening up because it's not right, and we're seeing the whole light of it. Right. But again, at 17, you have to have enough sense. Like the young lady, Mrs. Mendez, I think in the series, I think that was her name, Mrs. Mendez. She was 17 when she met R. Kelly in the mall. And talking about
in Florida.
Right. Mm-hmm. And her girlfriend told her, listen, if you don't call him, I'm going to call him type stuff. One of us is going to shine here. So if you didn't want this opportunity, and again, I don't mean to make her the victim. I don't want to make her a victim. But at 17, you got to understand that, I don't know, this is a game. The music industry is tough. And I'm not saying to be a star, you got to sleep with a star, but unfortunately, a lot of that happens. You want to
feel like that's their gateway in when it's usually not.
Right. And so
the actor's couch.
And so there's a lot of regret there. But, again, like I said, I don't want to make it seem like I'm talking crazy because, everyone is entitled to their self-security.
Right, but you have an opinion about it. And I think, even if your opinion, my bad, I didn't mean to kick you. I mean, if your opinion is unpopular, it's unpopular. The one thing I wanted to get back to, and I want you to hear and maybe understand how this could be problematic, is how the first thing that ends up being said is teach your daughter not to be a hoe or fast versus teach your young boys to understand how to respect women and not and be able to speak up when they are violated, right? Like R. Kelly said to himself, he was assaulted or sexually assaulted or molested from 7 years old to 14.
And that has a lot to do with it too. That, and so I'm sorry, but as a psychological standpoint, right? As a young boy, and you go back in the day, right? Let's go back 40 years ago. There was just some stuff that happened in the black community and in-house that we just didn't talk about. We brushed off. Uncles was molesting nephews and things like that.
But the issue is we are not teaching our young boys to feel like they could speak up about it.
Absolutely. And we weren't teaching our young boys how to grow up to be men, to stay there and raise your children. And even if you're not with the mother, you still have to focus on these children. We weren't doing that. And because we didn't do that, and he didn't have, and the man in his life that he may have looked up to for some kind of, was probably doing him wrong. The brother scared me because I think the brother had something to do with him getting touched on too. Now remember
the younger brother or the older?
The older brother, the one who's locked up.
He was talking real.
Okay, he took him real crazy. And like I said, the younger brother went to Kelly. He said, yo, I think something's going on. And because Kelly, and I think some way mentally in his mind, not only was he trying to protect himself, but he was trying to protect his young brother. Nah, that's not happening. Don't worry about it. Just brush it off. That's not really what you think is going on. And again, that's part of that masculinity that we talk about, that toxic masculinity that we so caught up. But again, we know as a people, we need help.
We just need to teach. It can't necessarily, like, when women get raped oh, what does she have on? Why are we questioning? And shout out to my friend, therapemovie.com, my friend Darnell Lamont Walker. He came out with a movie called called Set Yourself on Fire, but you can find it at therapemovie.com. I'll put it in the show notes. But men were on there. There were a couple of men versus the percentage of women that were willing to talk about it. But when you hear how hard it was for some of these men to even say certain things,
right.
It's just, again, boys aren't taught to not rape women. Women are taught to protect themselves and not dress a certain way. But it's the men that are mostly... It's the men that are raping women, right?
Right.
Men do get raped, but it's still the conversation that a bigger conversation needs to be had.
Absolutely. And no excuse for it. No excuse for it. But I do know that mentally there's something that clicks in the man's head because, again, as men, you grew up your whole life being a sexual predator. And when I mean sexual predator, I don't mean preying against people, young people. I just mean as a man, as a young kid, you grow up, you need to get this girl, or you maybe need to have 2 girlfriends.
But you're being taught
right.
this.
And it's not, and
right?
I'm not necessarily saying it's taught from your father.
Correct.
I'm just saying
correct,
this
correct.
could be your peers, your friends.
Absolutely.
Or, I got 2 girlfriends. All right, well, I got to get 2. Well, all right, then I got to get 3, kind of, sort of. And it'd be the little competition things that boys have and things like that, not knowing. And again, yes, I had that conversation with my friends, when my first daughter was born.
But how has that narrative changed for you now?
Well, again, it's just conversation. It's just communication because, my first daughter's, she's grown. But my 12-year-old, again, that conversation becomes,
it's not like,
I know you're going to have boyfriends. There's going to be hurt in your life. But what you want to do is kind of weed out what you don't want. Never mess with somebody and then try and mess with his friend. Never spread your legs to somebody not knowing the situation. Nowadays, when I say not knowing the situation, even if you decide you want to take that chance, before you make that happen, why don't you go get tested? See if that scares that guy off. Things like that. Protect yourself so that there is no hurt. And then do the things to protect yourself so you're not bringing kids in the world that you're not ready for. So that's the conversation me and the little one has, right?
But what about the conversation with when you get older and you are of age to drink, do not be somewhere around strangers where you are not coherent.
And so I haven't had the alcohol, drug.
She's 12.
We haven't had that yet.
Right.
But we have definitely talked about, because
Just
again, you could just be walking in the street
anybody,
and she'll be walking in the street with her mother, and what she see is somebody blowing out the window or somebody hollering something out the window. And again, to just reconfirm, that ain't cool.
Right, so you tell her, like, don't respond
absolutely.
to that.
Don't. That's not what you need.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, like, because I don't have any children, but I thought about you with you having daughters. Like, what do you tell them? Like, I can't tell you what was taught to us, what wasn't taught to us. I am skeptical of every fucking stranger that I meet. I don't care if you're a woman, I don't care if you're a man, right? But especially men. Right. But the irony, and I was telling somebody, I was like, I'm actually more nervous living in South Florida than I was walking by myself in the streets of New York. Right. Because a lot of times, like, some of the local stories that I would do, broad daylight, a girl was walking home from school. This man tried to sexually assault her. Right. On a fucking bike, Snap.
Right. Oh, I remember the story.
On a bike.
Right. Then
there's this man, I did the story earlier this week. This man keeps peeping in rooms. And the little girls,
right.
Yeah.
So he did it to a few different houses, and it just so happens that, like, they actually caught him and ran up on him and was able to hold him for a little bit.
Well, the one story I did, they didn't find him yet. It was the same guy so apparently there's multiple people doing peeping Tom shit.
Right.
But it's just little things like that. And so women, I know the weather is nicer down here, and so women's skin and body parts may be a little bit more exposed and all this other stuff. But even if they dress like that, are there men or boys being raised just because she dresses like that doesn't mean you have access to her body.
Right.
That's the conversation that's not being had.
It absolutely doesn't. But let me tell you the comparison. And when you think about it like this, right? So when you think about young boys and us looking at porn, these are the outfits we look at, the skin tight, leather looking stuff. And it's going to come off in the porno movie, but it's a similar dress. if you have workers in your neighborhood or at night, street workers, I'm talking about ladies at night, the gear that they wear, some of this shit be that scandalous shit that people are wearing in clubs now. I done seen people wear stuff to clubs, and I'm like, how do you walk out the house with that? And so again, I'm mentally straight, but there are a lot of people who may not be mentally straight, and that outfit may click something to say, you know what, regardless, I'm gonna get that.
At the end of the day, no.
I know.
Man has access to another woman's body, but that's bigger than you and I. But
absolutely.
But it could start with us, right? Like, you have children, you have guy friends, like being an ally for violence against women,
right?
You know, and I don't
have not one friend that would condone any kind of violence or abuse against women, and I, you know. I have a few friends that actually are in a movement to, you know, help situations like this, to raise awareness.
Let's talk
you know,
about it, man.
But again, even at my son at 14, I know he loves his mom to death. He cherishes. I mean, he is a mama's boy.
Right.
But even when he comes on my side and he sees me with my lady, all he sees is love. There's no fighting. There's no nothing. So I don't ever expect my son, you know, and we'll have that talk too, because, you know, the last time we spoke, he didn't have a girlfriend. So I don't know if, you know what I mean? I don't know what age they really start lying about having a girlfriend or not.
Correct.
But I'm asking you, I'm not saying, yo, I'm mad at you for, you know, no. I'm saying let's talk about it because, again, moving forward, there's going to be some things that I need to address that happened to me when I was his age, you know?
So he doesn't have to repeat those.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ooh. Lastly, Facebook took down the page that was created called Surviving Lies, where they were trying to discredit the R. Kelly accusers. They think it allegedly happened from his team. But either way, this is not going away, Snap. I don't think it's going away. So anyway. Moving right along into all of the things, our segment where it's personal, something that happened in our day or just things that we can't name. The first thing that came to mind, Snap, because I was really struggling trying to come up with topics. I was just like, golly, we've been gone for 2 weeks. I hadn't had to think about stuff. But I want to talk about anxiety and anxious thoughts and how I've had a lot more time to spend in solitude with my thoughts being down here because I'm not always on the go. My stimulus and my senses aren't being, my five senses aren't being stimulated as if I'm living in New York, right? Like you're always on the go, always alert, always on high. And when it really started hitting me, like I listened to a meditation podcast, this woman, her name is Tara Brach, and I was listening to How to Let Anxiety Free You, part 1 or something like that. And I was just like, I'll just listen to this like as my way of going to sleep. And then she started naming things, Snap, right? She was like, you know, anxiety can come in different forms, like overthinking and just your thoughts are just, you know, you start to believe certain things. Like it's almost like you become a hypochondriac. Like you, everything, like you start thinking like if this happens and that happens, and your mind just starts going in this mental loop.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I don't really want to name it, Snap, and say like I have anxiety, but I literally, because I don't take medicine for anything, right? But I really started having to own it, right? Like I've been overthinking for God knows how long, Snap. I never put a name to it. I just was like, okay, I'm just an overthinker. But it really became a thing down here, right? Like sometimes I'll have some dark thoughts and I'll have to shake them because I'm just like, I don't want to put energy towards something and then it manifests itself. Right. But just wanted to talk about anxiety and have you experienced anything of that sort and how you deal with it? But do you deal with anxious thoughts?
I do.
And what are the extremes? Like, what are some of the things that you deal with?
But I have different types of anxiety. And I can admit it, but, you know, was I ever seen by some kind of clinical doctor to...
Yeah,
no.
I mean, and I haven't either,
No.
but I'm curious on what that looks like for you. Your
like, again, so I'll give you experience. When I first got into radio, I didn't really understand...
How long ago?
The package of radio. 15 years ago, right? And... along with just being in the studio and having fun, you actually have to make appearances outside. And I just wasn't used to being in front of crowds. I went from just wanting to do radio to being put on stage to open before a comedy show or something like that. And so I could just remember leading up to it, 2 days knowing that, all right, it's coming around. My body was shake because now I'm thinking, what am I going to say? And this is nerves 2 days before. The day before, I start thinking to myself, you know, do I really want to do this? Is it too late for me to cancel and let somebody else do it? The day of, like, all right, I'm getting it. My armpits is sweating like I never, like, and I'm shaking, and I know I want to talk, but I can't even talk right. The words don't come out right, kind of, sort of. And so I don't know if it's a panic anxiety. I don't know what it was. There used to be times where, like, me and my friends would go out, and I don't know whether it was a house party or a club. On that ride, I don't know if it was the anxiety of me saying, yo, am I going to get to meet somebody, blah, blah, blah. But I just know I would be in the car shaking type shit, like I was cold and it was hot. So I don't know. I know I deal with different forms of anxiety. And yeah, too, there are times where I don't make enough money to what I want to do in life, And so I find myself stuck and I find myself thinking like, damn, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, damn, and then it gets even worse for me because now I got to say, yo, baby, and so it's like, so yeah, there are anxieties that we deal with, but a lot of people deal with anxiety right around the holidays too. And so, again, whether it's the stress of spending money, we got a government shutdown going down right now. People ain't got their paychecks in a couple weeks and things like that. So yeah, we all experience our own little forms of anxiety, but we tend to control them in our own little way, whether it's meditation, whether it's just taking a break. Some people have a drink or so, and just kind of forget about it until it comes back.
Yeah, it's just I tell a lot of narratives in my mind, Snap, and I know I've always have made narratives up in my head, but I realized how extreme it started getting when one of my guy friends just cut me off. Let me say not cut me off. See, again, telling a different story, right? He just stopped hitting me up, right?
There we go.
He's going through his own stuff. Okay, cool. I could tell you 5 different things that I came up with in my mind. But in between that of coming up with the narrative, deleted his number, blocked his number, unblocked his number, added his number back, deleted his number again, blocked his number, unblocked his number, added it back, right? So this constant loop, I think I deleted his number again today after adding it back. But my mind was trying to make sense of it, right? The way my brain works with certain things. Right. My brain, I'm always trying to make sense of something, Snap. And it has taken me into places where I just don't want to go or sit or think about. And I was like, I got to get this together, right? Like, I got to really get this together. So it just had me thinking, like, I know I would hear conversations about people talking to me about their own anxiety. Charlamagne the God is really big on talking about his anxiety. Right. And I was just like, oh, okay, yeah. But when she named it, and she named like 5-6 different things, I almost hit all 5 to 6 different things. Right. I just did. I thought anxiety was something else. Right. Like, I literally did. But like the fear of something about to happen that doesn't happen. Right. That's true. Oh, yeah. I've been having those thoughts, right? Right. And I've having more. They've been very amplified down here, though. And so, yeah, man, I just wanted to kind of talk about it and just be like, man, I'm just kind of going through the motions and just would love to hear. Hit us in the comments and just let us know how you're dealing with it. If you've seen somebody, if you're taking medicine, if you have other coping mechanisms that are non-drug related. I'm kind of curious. This is just something to throw out there and talk about because, again, there's a lot of things that we don't talk about. Absolutely. In our community. So, Steph, that's all I got for you, man.
Well, that's cool. No, but and I know we want to end on a great note, but it's like I literally heard my girl say that the day before yesterday, and we was talking because, again, we were listening to one of the shows where one of the latest episodes where Cuz was on. Where,
the fair exchanges, no robberies?
There you go. Okay. Right. And then we just briefly spoke on, remember we was talking about her male gynecologist and, yeah, so she does have a male gynecologist. And so we were just having that talk.
This is an update.
So she does have a male. She's been going to him for 20 years and blah, blah, blah. Okay. And who am I to tell her So, yeah, it was like, for the most part, for the whole show, I said, yeah, I think she has a male and blah, blah, blah. So she agreed. And she was like, yeah, until I said that very last line. She shouldn't have a male guy. Because I was like, if it's up to me, I'd let her have a female. But
you were like, if the male gynecologist was giving her orgasms, you wanted to know what you're doing wrong.
Right. And then, of course, that was a joke. Because, again, that's why you finished. And you was like, well, he was, he was arrested type shit like that, But, yeah, no, that was, it was a joke. And... yeah, she ain't laugh at my joke either. Yeah, she ain't laugh at my joke.
So what were her thoughts about when she heard your opinions about her having a male gyno? Episode 18, by the way, y'all should tune in.
She again, she knows that I'm she knows that I'm being stupid when I talk about like the little things like that. But again, I have to go with what she is. She's in the medical field. She, if anything, would know more than I do about who to trust in the industry. She's actually recommended me to go to so-and-so because of the connection that he makes with, or she makes with her patients. So, again.
For you to have a female...
Right. Well, there was she introduced me to a female dentist.
Okay.
But I did have a male... Damn, what the hell was the male?
What's the male, like, what's the equivalent of a male having a gynecologist? Anywho, like some.
Well, just a physical checkup.
A physical checkup,
because,
right? Aren't they sticking something up your ass?
Well, I got to get a prostate exam, and okay. So me and this doctor been going back and forth, and I'm about.
You want a woman or a man to do that?
Well, I think I see. That's why I haven't gone. And this is big in the black community. A lot of us don't go get those prostate exams.
You should get it checked
but I
out,
need
period,
to. But that's what I'm dealing with now. Who the hell is going to stick their finger in my rectum?
Are you sure it's their finger?
It's got to be. Because they have to physically touch something.
Your girlfriend, she is in the medical field.
I want to call her right now. But yeah, I know. It's their finger. It's their finger. They stick in their finger.
They have gloves on.
Well, they do have gloves, but it's still, they stick in their finger.
Snap. A finger up your ass versus you
dying of prostate cancer?
Yeah, like, come on, my man. No. Get over that.
You see that part of that anxiety, right? And not to go off track, but I'll do some, my thoughts, my process thought. And I'm like, I've lived a great life. If God take me today.
Stop. I'm not hearing you. No.
Okay, I said I wanted to end on a good note, right? I'm sorry.
He said, like, because if it's between a finger in my ass or me dying.
As long as it's not painful. I just don't want to have a painful death.
I don't think it's painful. I think what it is for men, you all build up in your minds. Y'all, this is what I think it is. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're equating it to something.
Some kind of homosexuality.
Mm-hmm.
What if I like it?
Okay.
No, there's nothing okay about that. No, there's nothing okay about that.
So the real fear, y'all, is he's afraid that he might like it. What the fuck are you going to like? They're sticking it up there, feeling around.
Okay.
Okay, can I say this? Okay, and because St. Asia, he has said this. I don't know if he said this on the podcast.
And that's why I'm going to tell you this.
Are you about to say, like,
there's a thing up there. And as a man, well, as gay dudes, I had a conversation with, and one time it was TMI, I thought, but again, we were just being open with each other. And so now I thought, in a gay relationship, both men do each other. But he says, no, he never is the giver. He's the receiver. But again.
Oh, he's the top. There's a top
there we
and the
go.
bottom.
Okay, so there we go. And so, no, it's never the one in the back giving. He's always the one receiving. Damn, it just sounds funny talking about this.
Wait. He's the top or he's the bottom? He receives or he gives?
He receives.
Oh, he's on the bottom.
He's a bottom. He doesn't.
But so what my cousin said to me when we were talking about something, there are, men can get orgasms even if you're with your woman and she's messing around with your prostate.
And your rectum, right. And so there's a spot up there.
But there are sensational points up there.
Yes, and you will have an orgasm. And I think part of that, it's not that I'm scared that I'll like it. It's like, yo, what happens if that embarrassing shit happens? He hit the spot or something like that. I know it sounds crazy. I'm doing it in comedy too, a lot of toxic masculinity. But
get a woman.
I don't even know if I want a woman sticking up. I think.
Have your girlfriend do it to you when y'all playing around, and then
we don't even play like that, though. When you play, you put your finger in.
There are some men that like that.
I know
with their woman,
but it's usually not black men.
That's a lie, actually.
Really?
That's a lie. You may not have any guy friends that are openly talk about that shit.
Okay, so there you go.
That's
so then
fair.
Maybe my friends are lying to me, or they just not talking about it.
I think you're getting a little bit of both. I think you have friends that maybe.
I thought it was something white, and I don't want to sound racist or nothing like that, but I thought that was something that.
No.
Because white dudes would do some crazy ass shit.
No, I mean that might be true too, but
I think that's why I had that fear. I used to watch a show called Jackass. And one of the scenes,
they were doing some wild
one of the
shit,
scenes was one of the guys went to go get a prostate exam, and I think he made himself. And I was like, I can't have that happen to me. Like, Yeah, there you go. I think that's what it was. I think I watched some dumbass shit one
All
time.
I'm saying is you are going to keep people in your circle that almost think like you, and you want people that actually think beyond what you think about, so they can open up your senses, right? Every time you talk to my cousin, you're just like, oh my gosh.
I didn't see it from that point, right?
He always does that. But all I'm saying is there are some sensations. There are sensations that the word escapes me, but men. It feels good from what I have heard. You're laughing from some men that have had, that may do anal sex with their partners, whether it's a heterosexual partner or a queer partner. It doesn't matter. Either way, break through that fear because it's your health. Snap.
Yo, I'm getting goose pimples talking about that.
I'm sure you are getting goosebumps. I see him. Snap over here getting goosebumps talking about someone's going to figure up his ass. The thought of it.
It's chilling. And I don't know why, but that's a part of the anxiety. So imagine not even making the appointment. Imagine the day I'm going to have to actually go.
It is not going to be what you think it is.
I know. A man said that to me. One other dude said, who's experienced it before. Matter of fact, but I had a coworker he's almost 60 now or something. And told me, yo, it's not as bad as the thing, but you got to get to know your doctor. This is somebody he's been going to for.
Thank you.
I've never had, and I hate to say it, in my 20 years here, I've never had a consistent doctor here in the state of Florida.
I will admit, my gyno, who's in Virginia, I've been going to her for 17 years.
Can't say I've had a relationship with a doctor like that.
Yes, I live in South Florida, but I am not going to get my annual pap smear from anybody new.
Right. I almost want to go out of state, get it done, and come back. So the person, I would never, ever have to bump into that person ever.
There are laws in place, though, that they can't put that information out there. I think it's called HIPAA, H-I-P-A. There's laws in place that protects your privacy and things of that nature, unless... Anywho, you're not doing anything illegal. Right. Go get your rectum checked out, okay? Go get a finger up your ass. Snap. And on that note, snap.
You can find me on IG at Rob_OSnap, on Twitter at RobOSnap. Oh my goodness. How can they find us? No, I don't want to do it. Yeah.
I'm gonna let Snap go on this one.
Thank you.
His nerves are so bad. You can find us on Twitter and IG, Black Nuance Pod. You can find me on Instagram. You know what, Snap? I took a serious break from Instagram to give my brain a break, and it was so helpful. Mm-hmm. So helpful. So you can find me on Instagram at Georgette Star with 2 R's. I can't tell you that I'm going to be on it as consistently as I used to be, but the intermittent breaks help. You can find me on my website as well, GeorgettePierre.com. Email us at blacknuancedpod@gmail. Questions, comments, feedback, but leave us comments on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, we're on Spotify, but most importantly, SoundCloud. So we're out of here as Snap gets rid of these goosebumps at the thought of him getting a prostate exam. It's okay, Snap. You'll be okay. On that note, we're out of here. Peace.